Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. Boy, I'm excited about what we're studying at this point as we look at Revelations chapter 2 and 3, and we see these 7 letters to the 7 churches of Asia and how that they're so applicable to us in our lives today. And even though these were specific churches in 7 specific cities in Asia that John is writing to and the Lord has a special word for, boy, I just believe that these churches represent our churches today. And we fall into maybe one of the categories of one of these churches, as John points out, and the Holy Spirit reveals the specific need and sins in those 7 churches that need to be dealt with. But also, not only is he dealing with a rebuke to those churches, he is also encouraging those who overcome, because in each of those churches, there were those who were overcomers. Now, I want to remind you that Jesus said, remember John 16, be of good cheer. In this world you have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Jesus is the ultimate overcomer. And in Jesus Christ, you and I can be overcomers every day. Instead of being overcome of evil and darkness and sin and hurt and pain and sorrow and all the things that come with that in our daily lives, we can be overcomers. We overcome it all. And God knows that everything that happens to us, if we love Him and we are in Him and He is overcoming in us, we will see God take that which is evil, that which is bad, that which is ugly, that which is hurtful, and He will turn it into good. That's what He tells us and promises us, knowing that He can work everything out for good to our own behalf and beliefs as we trust and believe and trust Him. Now, listen, I want you to see this real quick here, because we're going to look at 7 churches here real quick. To the church at Ephesus, he writes in verse 7, to him who overcomes, I will give to eat from the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God. Into the church of Smyrna, he says, he that has an ear to hear, listen. But he says, he who overcomes shall not be hurt of the second death. Do you hear that? You will eat of the tree of life which is in the midst of the paradise of God in heaven. And then you read in the church of Smyrna, the persecuted church, he who overcomes won't be hurt by the second death. Why? Around him, everybody was getting killed and murdered and thrown to lions and being torn apart and being tortured and being crucified. But I'm telling you, he said, don't worry about it. The second death will never touch you because you're an overcomer. You're truly in the family of God. And by the way, these overcomers were not super saints. You know who they were? They were just normal, everyday believers who loved Jesus with all their heart and were doing their best in the midst of their trials and suffering to follow Him. And then we see to the church of Pergamos, he says, you have an ear? Listen. To him who overcomes, I will give some of the hidden manna to eat. I will also give him a white stone, and on the stone a new name written, which no one knows except the one who receives it. That's the church at Pergamos. And we see that church. And then the church of Thyatira, he says to that church, and to him overcomes and keeps my works until the end, he said, I will give power over the nations. He will rule them with a rod of iron. They'll be dashed in pieces like a potter's vessel. Why? Because we'll rule and reign with Jesus Christ. To the church of Thyatira, he's saying, if you overcome, you will rule with me in my coming kingdom. And then we see in Revelations chapter 3, to the church of Sardis, again, he who overcomes will be clothed in white garment, and I will not blot out his name from the book of life, but I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. Oh, what a wonderful promise for the one that overcomes, to be confessed by Jesus before the Father on that special day of judgment. And then to the church of Philadelphia, he writes and says, to him that overcomes, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go out no more. I'll write on him the name of my God, the name of the city of my God, the new Jerusalem which comes down out of heaven from my God, and I will write on him my new name. And so we hear that to the church of Philadelphia, he who overcomes, they will have a place in the kingdom in heaven. And then the last one, the church of Laodicea, to him that overcomes, I will grant to sit with me on my throne, as I also overcame and sit with my Father on his throne. Oh, my friend, today I encourage you, be an overcomer in Jesus. He has already overcome. Let him live in you like he wants to. You have a wonderful, wonderful day.